Footy's back. Ba-da-da, ba-ba, ba-da-da, ba-ba, 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 ba-da-da. That's right. Footy Unfilterated. I'm your host, James Clements. I know, smiling politely at the moment, having taken the entire family to a game of football for the first time ever, which I'll talk about in a second. Luckily, it was a bloody win. It was looking pretty bad within the first 5 minutes, Jez. I'll tell you what. Anyway, on the other side of this here screen is everyone's favourite Essendon fan. He drew a line in the sand and then proceeded to vomit all over it. It's Jez. Jez, what's going on?
Boo. Boo. Oh, wait, I'm not allowed to do that, am I? Oh, sorry. Yeah. What's going on? Well, my team is garbage again. Flock of pigeons and a gas shortage. That's about it. Oh, back to normal, Jim?
It is. It really is. Round 20 zone. We're doing this on a Sunday night, which is kind of fun, kind of fresh. Literally just watched the end
Sunday
of the
fun day.
Yeah, the Saints North game, and I've got 0 tins in me, which is a bit of a worry. But anyway, we're going to do our round 20 wrap. We've got some weekly awards. We've got some Yeah Nahs. We're going to do our Mount Rushmore of most punchable players in the AFL. And we've got the round 21 preview and picks. Some of these games are awesome. This week was a weird one because it had some really tasty matchups, but some of the games actually sort of stunk up the joint. So we'll talk about that. So, without further ado, let's get into it. It's Footy Without the Ball. It's Footy Unfilterated.
Dust and cobwebs, dust and cobwebs. They're joking me. Dust and cobwebs, dust and cobwebs. What cannot win?
Oh, you cannot win against those dusting cobwebs. Who is this dusting cobwebs? We are
No, but Essendon could use him.
You get 25 touches on this.
Could do.
What a week in footy it was. As per usual, it's a big week in footy. As you said, don't boo. Which is, I don't know, a fraught thing, apparently. I usually take the stance of let fans be fans, right? However, there are weird shades to that aspect.
Yes.
The fans are coming from a place that feels a bit weird
Crook.
and very, very, very sus. I do feel like we have been completely right in criticizing Adelaide's approach to this entire saga. But at the same time, you can also see why Matthew Nix is like, look, hey, man, fans want to be fans. I do think as a club, you can go, look, just pull your heads in. You don't have to do it. We get it. We get it. Right? He dobbed in Isaac Rankin for making a homophobic slur. You can boo that man, I guess. But do you have to? Right.
There's one thing that we all need to remember, Jim, is that they're from Adelaide and they're still only just working out what a mobile phone is and how to use it. So let's not judge them too harshly. When they catch up to us in 35 years' time, then maybe we can be critical of the way Adelaide's crowds are. But the one thing, in all seriousness, when the AFL and the media and everyone else who thinks they know everything about everything come out and say, oh, booing, you don't need to do it. Guess what normally happens, Jim? It gets worse. I believe, and we all, I don't want to touch on the Adam Goods saga too much because that's a bit, but what happened when the media and everyone kept coming out and saying they need to stop? Guess what? It got worse and worse and worse. So regardless, obviously that one was a little bit different, but the more they carry on about it, the worse it gets. Just go, oh, yeah, Adelaide fans being dickheads. Let's move on.
I think you're doing something here. We should actually just be shaming the fans for being Adelaide fans more than anything. It's like, this is My favourite thing is you walk around the streets at the moment and you see the kids in their big jeans and their baggy clothes, and you're like, oh, it's like I'm in Adelaide. This is great. Like nothing is like Adelaide is still in that era of fashion, and the rest of the country is like going back to it. In 35 years' time, Adelaide.
I have one of those kids who dresses in that manner. So, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. With the jorts, how much of jorts made a comeback?
Tell you what, old mate looking like a Turek lesbian is the funniest thing in the world, I'll tell you, with their big jorts. It's she's trying to just whack across the ears. Like, you wish you could be fashionable, Jim. Yeah, I don't really. Like, I'm wearing a payback Homer Simpson Jedrick Tatum t-shirt. I'm the most fashionable man I know. But yeah, I think the guys are kind of shaming the fans for being morons probably is not going to work.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah.
Being Adelaide fans and morons, the combination might eventually work. I think obviously the biggest problem is it does always feel somewhat racially charged, right? I think it goes to the goods thing, the Quaynor thing. And even though folks will be like, no, it's got nothing to do with that, like there's still going to be like a section of the crowd that are just like, oh, this is, it's actually a hint of that.
And it's that easy that sort of part of it. Yeah. It's that part of it that the media are too afraid to say out loud. Yeah. You know, and that's a reality. That was a reality with goods. It was all racially charged. You know, the white majority didn't like the way he called out a young girl for, you know, being racist, and rightfully so. You know, even though this the comment itself came from an Indigenous player to a, you know, I'm not even going to try and say, I don't know where Isaac Quayner's background is, so I'm not even going to go there. But, you know, like they're two fellas who are not white, let's put it that way. And yet somehow these morons, and a lot of them are usually on social media with fish in their profile pictures, Jim. So not their own face, but they've got nice big fish there. Yeah, you know, if that's you, then yes, I'm talking about you. And they're the ones that more often than not, the ones that are perpetrating all this sort of crap. So, and you're right, it does come from a pretty average place. So if that's a reason, but booing, like when you have a player, Joe Watson, for example, got booed when he came out on, I think it was Talking Footy, and was pretty honest about the whole drug saga. Now, West Coast fans booed him. Yeah, didn't affect, well, I mean, I'm sure it affected him, but, you know, so be it. If you have a player on your team that's taken out a player from the other team, and next time you play him, that's all part of it. That's the rivalry there, you know. I'm sure Tony Lockett got booed by plenty of teams after belting at least one of their players every time he played them. And that's the sort of right, and that's where I think it has a place. But as you mentioned, when it becomes it has other connotations, and that's when it sort of becomes a thing. And rightly so. It's not often though, Jim, that the Port Adelaide fans can take a moral high ground over Adelaide fans, but this week I think they might be able to.
Amazing. Look, I'm fully all about it. But like Braden Maynard should be booed every time he goes anywhere near the ball just because he's a war 100%. Criminal. Like that's easy for me. But yeah, the Quaynor thing, the good thing, always hated it. I think, if there's any, like if there's other sort of surrounding instigating circumstances, I think the moralistic boo is a little bit better than the opportunistic one, if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
it's kind of weird. Don't like. Other bits and bobs from the weekend. Josh Fraser is finally going, oh, yeah, maybe I will.
Maybe I'm all right.
Actually, maybe I'll put my hand up, be in the conversation. That's as far as he's basically gone so far after they've, you know, essentially put themselves on the very, 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 very edge of being eliminated from the finals contention, but they're still alive for the minute. So I don't know. It's kind of like, it's sort of as though he has seen some of the other names that have been floated around. He's like, nah, actually, how about me? Screw that. Because it does feel like it's a lot of the sort of younger assistant coaches like the Corey Enrights, Gian Siracusa, of the world, etc. So yeah, Josh Fraser's probably more than likely like, oh, actually. So I don't mind that. Jack Gunn's got a resounding set of I don't know, applauses as it was going, as he got towards his 600th goal, which was very, very fun. One of the more sort of unheralded, unlikely guys to boot 600 goals, Jess, but very cool.
Yeah. Well, considering, 3 years ago, he was on the scrap heap, shipped off to Brisbane and didn't like it there. Obviously, he's a bit pale for Brisbane, so I thought I'll come back down. And everyone was surprised when the Hawks went, yeah, okay, we'll give you a year. And he's now signed his third 1 year deal and he's getting better with age. He's kicked, 50 for the year.
It's insane.
And I believe he's even, sorry, I'm just going to have a look. I believe he's pretty close to back in the running for the Coleman medal. Where is he? Yeah, so you got Charlie Curnow on 54 and he's 7 behind on 47. He's missed 6 games. So there's every chance that had he stayed fit and healthy, he might have been 30 goals ahead. I think it's I think it's great. Good on him.
I love it. Yep. I do love a bit of I do like, so you know how I feel about the transactional nature of talking about transactions across the NBA and the NFL, and I've always sort of felt it takes away the vibe of what's actually happening. Right, the entire point behind the games is to see who's better and who's going to win the flag, but so much narrative in the storyline just gets completely swamped by trades and who's gettable. And the Jordan Ridley stuff about, a bloke who's barely on the fringes of a horrible team's best 23 at the moment. So, man, he could make it up to Queensland. No one in Queensland really seems to want him anymore. So he might have to go to a Victorian team. It's like, do you think he's really going to swing the premiership race at this point? I don't really care that much.
Hold on, who's that? St Kilda. Is that St Kilda calling? $1 million a year. Yeah. We'll take 3 first-round picks. Thank you, St Kilda.
I'm full Jared Pollock again. Let's go. So the Ridley saga continues. I mean, it's just you've got people talking about the Ben King, stuff like that. It's like Gold Coast stink with Ben King. It's like, all right, so he's going to be that much better for Hawthorn. Probably, presumably, when they get Zach Merritt as well, they're going to be a juggernaut. Hey, meanwhile, they're like 3rd on the ladder and look awesome. How about we talk about this year's version rather than next year? So, anyway.
It has done my head in for year on end, the amount of trade talk that happens in July, that 1% of it of all time has actually come to fruition.
Yep.
It's just throwing shit. It's just throwing shit at a board and seeing how much of it can stick.
And the last little bit, we've got the round 23 and 24 fixtures coming out this week, which is kind of fun. There's a weird one, though. I think the Thursday night of round 23, there's no men's footy because you get the AFLW as a standalone, which is kind of neat.
Because that's their opening round, so. Or is it round one?
Melbourne Hawthorn. It's round 0. Send them up north. So it'd be nice to actually know what's going on in like 3 weeks' time. 1 week.
Is it odd to you as it is to me that we're at round 20 and we still don't know where our teams are going to be playing in round 23 and 24? Like, I can understand maybe 24, but what's the science behind not having already scheduled 23, especially when you've got this standalone AFL? Like, what are they doing? I don't know.
Yeah. You know the matchups. You just don't know what's happening that week and when, and like where.
Yeah.
You just don't know when across a weekend it is. So it's very hard to sort of plan around.
And we're less than 3 weeks away from that round 23 game. And, I don't know about you, but I tend to plan the games about that far in advance as to whether I can make it based on my hectic schedule. I'm certain that Ralph Wiggum is running the AFL behind the scenes, just sitting there eating blue sticks and Yeah, I'm pretty certain there's a Ralph Wiggum in there going, my cat's name is Mittens.
Yeah,
Oh,
Andrew
yeah.
Dillon had having blood noses if he just got his finger out of there. We've got we also got
So
some
true.
reports out
He
there.
still gets his hair cut in like the little big red car at the hairdressers, so that he's got Paw Patrol on the iPad there, just so he stands still and he gets that haircut.
He's had the
Oh
same
God.
haircuts. Makes sense. Anyway, Ty Gallup looks like he's going to get cited for a tackle on Mitch Georgiades,
Yeah.
which I watched this and I was like, all right. It's a bit rough, I guess, but all right. And the other injury sort of news from the weekend, the biggest one was Max King not being able to make it through his return game with hamstring
Very
awareness.
sad.
I'm usually aware of my hamstrings and my groin and my Achilles and most of my assorted
My
ailments.
knees, my shoulders, my arthritic
That
fingers.
sucks.
Sorry, it wasn't about me, was it?
But yeah, poor Max King, that stinks.
Yeah.
It does sort of feel
Sucks
like, yeah,
big
they
time.
probably could have just slow rolled that a little bit more. But anyway, at least Tom DeConing came back, so that was good. And then they also lost Rowan Marshall at one point, and he's just like, geez. So
They lost him like
bit of a
in the warm up.
yeah. So
He
pre-game it was
pulled
very
up
odd.
lame in the warm up, and yeah, which I think might have been a good thing for DeConing coming back off injury. But I guess we'll talk about that shortly. Yeah, I'll just
Other one was your man Sullivan Roby, bit of a tough one.
yeah.
Not good at all. What was an actual tear of the? I did see the diagnoses, but it wasn't good. Well, the meniscus, I think.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
I don't think we'll see him again this year. I think they'd be silly to. I think he's a young fella. He's played some good footy. Just put him on ice now, and even if he is right to go for 23 or 24, I can't see him being back after 2-3 weeks with a meniscus. It's just not worth it. So hopefully they do the right thing and put him on ice. And yeah, we've got nothing to lose, nothing to win. So there's no point.
Yep.
But yeah.
The Blues lose Nick Newman and his massive.
Yeah,
literally
that
came
sucks.
out. He had the kids with him and was like this big thing. It was awesome. And then he was gone within the first couple of minutes. And you're like, oh, that was horrible. Anyway, I took the Squids to that game myself. I'll talk about that in a second.
And there was also a couple of other ones. I think it was Ridley was out in the first 5 minutes. Hawthorn lost Mitch Lewis again in the first part of the game. So there was a lot of early injuries this week. I think probably out of all of them, Lewis is probably going to be the one. Just because he was just starting to get into good form, and obviously he signed a big deal and all that sort of jazz. And so I think that one they'll adjust because they are quite good at sort of picking up the pieces when they do lose a vital cog. But it's sad for him because he was just starting to play some really good footy and some really exciting footy.
Like that as well. Yeah, it's a weird one as well with this sort of tough concussion. And you're like, oh, hopefully can come back, but you just never know. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Right. Let's wrap up round 20. Thursday. Disappointing Crom. 74. The Pies went away. Ran over the top of them in the second half. Especially, what was it, the fourth quarter or what it was? Basically, where it's just like, oh, God. It was close. And then Collingwood went bang, 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 bang and had them. It was a weird one watching on Thursday. Just like, I expected a bit more fight from the Crom. They were up handily and then just lost the plot in the second half. It was really strange. So they were flying as well.
Yeah. Yep. This has been the story of the year, though, Jim. Like they pull off what you would say is an upset against the Swans up in Sydney the week before, and I think I'm not sure how we tipped, but we both thought that the Crom would get this one done. And they, after probably halfway through the second quarter, they didn't look like it. They came out of the block, and this is where I think we spoke about, obviously, where with the Fog getting his 3 weeks. I think this game might have gone to answer that question about who you play out of those three talls, and I think it's going to be Fog and Thriller because Tex was great early. I think he kicked 3 in the first quarter, and then he didn't get near it for the rest of the game. And I think that sort of shows where they're at, because Fogarty, he might kick you 3 or 4, but he's making contests and bringing the ball, doing all the stuff you want a key forward to do. I think Tex has lost a bit of that ability to play out a game. So, but Collingwood, geez, they looked so good. They're just, I think, what are they, 6 in a row now, Jim?
I think so.
Yeah.
Ed Allen,
look out.
Ed Allen did
He
a
was
job
good.
on Jordan Dawson and everything. It's just tough saying. Good job by the Pies. We'll talk about the ladder at the end of this one as well as we sort of wrap it all up. But big win. Friday, we had Geelong go to the G and manhandle Melbourne. 117-97. It was a really, really, really fun game early on. It was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then the Cats sort of took control. The Demons kind of kept threatening, and the Cats always sort of had an answer. Bailey Smith was awesome. And you had, I don't know, just Danger leaving the field a little bit late, bit of soreness there. But the Ds, I mean, you had Cozzy trying to nutmeg a dude in the goal square, which was a bit, I mean, it would have been awesome had it worked, but it's also really hard to do.
Yeah.
Just saying. Shannon Neal kicks 5, and this is kind of it. They're letting Jezza Cameron sort of recuperate, hang out, and they kind of don't need him that much right now, it turns out. They were Max Holmes. Fine. It was kind of weird and kind of daunting, but I don't know. The way that Melbourne were playing early, they were right there, but just couldn't keep up.
I think there was a couple of big points out of this one. Was Cozzy was well held by, I believe it was O'Sheen Mullen. He ended up only with the 14 disposals. He did kick a goal, but he didn't have an impact on the game. And the other one that was Disco Turner being out. It showed because I had to rely on Tom McDonald, and he was well off. Like he was a yard of pace short. He's just out of form as far as AFL goes. So they really missed Turner. I think that was a big sort of difference there. Again, they lost, I think, and Jefferson, after 6 goals a week before, I don't even think he had that many touches. And I think to half time he had 1 disposal.
Kicked 0 goals, 3.
And it was a disappointing return after the week before, and it was also disappointing because he cost me a pretty decent multi too. But anyway, yeah.
And then we had the West. What is it? I think it's the Derby, isn't it? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's the Derby.
It's the
Derby over there. And I always forget, and then I'm watching one of them, and I'm like, we've got it. And then I completely forget again because I'm a moron. West Coast, we're right there up until they weren't. And then when they weren't, it went very sideways very, very quickly, and they lose by 70, which was, I think, one of the tips. So I absolutely smashed you in the tips this week. I think it was 7-3 that I got right.
Holy dooly.
Yeah, it was crazy. Oh, no, it might have been 7-4. I think I pulled back 3 from you this week. And this was one of the ones that you got that I didn't. I thought West Coast to be kind of at least within that, was it 42.5 or whatever it was?
Yeah, it was something big.
First quarter and a half, I'm like, your mate Jim's on here. This is good. And halfway through the third quarter, they're down by like 40. And then by the end of the game, they're down by 70. And you're like, oh, this went bad very, very, very quickly. Caleb Strong was everywhere.
Jaya miss did not a miss.
Didn't a miss.
Yeah. Did not a miss. He was, my old Italian nonna. I'm not Italian and I don't have a nonna, but if I did, that's what her name would be.
I love it. This was just a bit of a old-fashioned smashing by Freo in there. They just ran away with it. They were sort of doing as they willed. I was watching, flipping between these 2 games on Friday night, just going,
same.
Oh, wow, West Coast. And it's like after halftime, I was like, oh, this is getting bad. And then you're just like, oh, I'm just going to keep watching more Geelong, Melbourne because not going very well. Freo doing the damn thing. Saturday, I took, the first family footy fantastical, familial fantastical voyage taking the squid, the baby squid, to his first game of footy. Carlton 110,
Ooh.
Gold Coast 97. Never in doubt. Oh, this was a wildly entertaining game. And I think the only entertaining game really of the Saturday, because the rest of the games were all a bit how you going. So,
Oh, yeah.
got there pretty early, timed it out nicely. The baby squid, I know, was already kind of over it before the first bounce or the first throw up. It kept plying him with food and stuff like that. And he absolutely flipped out when we realised that the older squid had left behind the flag, the little Carlton flag,
No.
had at the house. And then when the baby realised that the big one hadn't brought the flag, absolutely lost it. So old mate took him and got him another flag. Then he was kind of happy, but he's 3.5 and nothing happy. So, amazing spot as well. We're in the first. I think that's the first time I've been first row at the footy since I was a kid, and that was unreal. Like at Marvel, nothing better. That was absolutely fantastic. So we're in the forward
just
pocket.
different being that close, isn't it?
It really is. Like the footy's coming right near you. We're right there, and especially I don't know, for a tallish kind of fellow like me, you can appreciate this. You're even taller than I am. When you've got the fence there, you've actually got more leg room than you do behind normal seats. Very handy. Very handy.
Yep.
Yeah, but it was great. It was awesome. Did feel like within the first 10 minutes we might have to just go because they had just kicked the first 3 goals of the game. The place is deathly quiet. The older squid's just like, what are we doing? This is, oh, God.
Yeah.
Then old mate took the baby to go get some food or whatever, and instantly Carlton hit the lead, kicked the next 3 goals, go into quarter time up, and I'm like, don't come back to your seats. Just
can you just stay away, please? Stay away.
But the weird part of the entire game was that happened every quarter. Like the Suns came out absolute gangbusters. I reckon, I haven't looked at the score or anything, but I reckon that's exactly what happened at the start of each quarter. And they might have gotten back in front in each of those quarters as well. And then Carlton slowly dragged it back and took the lead again and sort of eked it out. A really entertaining game that was just horrible in terms of skill. Just turnover after turnover. It was shocking. The Blues missed probably 5 or 6 shots that they should have absolutely 100% kicked. You got Brody Kemp running away from the goals. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit later. But yeah, the baby squid enjoyed it. The older squid is like an old hand at this now, so that was fun.
Yeah.
The Blues,
by
the time they
the quarters pretty much went the same way, all 3 of them, with Gold Coast getting out early and the Blues reeling it back to. I was following along. Obviously, I was up at Dalesford watching my oldest son play. That's him in the background there with the I'm sure he's about to hit the target. I've got no doubt. But yeah, so I was sort of checking and watching that game, and I was sort of like, ooh, and then I did have a thought. I went, what the hell, Jim and the kids are going? I wonder if Mrs. Jim's taken the young fella home yet, or if they've all just upped and left. So, no, I'm glad to hear that it went well. It's good for the kids going to the footy. So,
it was. I think the first time that the eldest squid went to a game was in 2022. The Blues held on by 1 point to beat Hawthorn at the G. And that was one of the most disgusting games of football I've ever watched. And it was one of the most frustrating as well. The Blues, I think, were up. I think they kicked 7 goals to 1 in the first quarter and then kicked like maybe 3 goals the rest of the game or something. It was just absurd and tried their absolute hardest to lose that game. So, yeah, both the Squids now have had their first games of footy be wins, which is pretty awesome for a Blues fan, I guess. But there was some pretty amazing moments in this one. Like you had the Sam Walsh Falcon that actually led to a Carlton goal, which was off a turnover. The Suns are going back the other way. Sam Walsh throws his body in to smother it. It absolutely cannons into his head. You hear the thwack from where we're sitting, and you're like, Jesus. And the Blues score a goal from that turnover. And it's absolutely 100% the turning point of the match because it was all getting a bit wavery. The other thing really was that Taylor Byrne is absolutely amazing. And he's now like the older squid's second favourite player behind Cripps, to the point where he went and bought a Taylor Byrne badge, which I was
Ooh.
just like stunned. He's got the wall of the Carlton badges. I'm like, yeah, which one do you want? He's like, Taylor Byrne. I'm like, shit, yes, all right.
I like it.
That's awesome.
I like it.
And for the Suns, the Noah Anderson goal where he shrugged off 5 dudes and just slotted one. It was absolutely off its head. Very much enjoyed that, despite it coming against the Blues, because you're like, that was just insane. So, yeah, good game, fun game. Old mate being there as well, she was kind of like, it was very weird being at a game where there's just like one set of fans. I'm like, yeah. This is kind of like the Carlton experience when you go see them play an interstate team at Marvel, right? Like, unless it's even the Crows, like they'll have a bigger contingent, but you'll see it. Like, they play the Lions next week at Marvel as well. It'll be a bit more Lionish because they've obviously been very
You
successful.
get some
but
old
yeah, it is.
Fitzroy, but you'll also get some old Fitzroy heads as well there, which the ones that haven't, refused to ever go to the footy again. But yeah, no, that's good. Good to hear that it went well, Jim, and because it can go two ways with young kids, as you know, with most things. And I have been to many an event where I've had to carry a screaming child out, and that's it for the day. So I'm glad it went well. Let me ask you something. Do you remember the first game you went to?
It was at
When you
Princess
were a kid?
Park. Yep.
Ooh.
And the Blues, I think, beat the Demons by, I reckon it was 19 points. I want to say 1989, something like that. So 88. It was either 88 or 89. And Princess Park. The next one was at Windy Hill. Jimmy Buckley came back for that game, which was big news in our family, with the old man being a big Jimmy Buckley fan.
Yep.
And yeah, a couple more at Princess Park, and yeah, still kind of remember it, like smoking in the stands, in the bleachers, like standing room only sort of stuff. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I remember the first Essendon game. So the first game I went to was a Collingwood Carlton game at Waverley in 1990. But the first Essendon, and that was just, the school trip where they took the kids from the bush to the footy. The first game I actually went to was Essendon Melbourne, and I went with my mum's boyfriend at the time and his daughter, who were Irish, so they were massive Jim Steins fans. So we went along, and Melbourne were 42 points up at three-quarter time, and Essendon came back and won the game by a point. So that was still to this day my favourite memory of all time. But the one thing, it's funny, and you'll remember this, as you just mentioned, smoking in the stands and all that sort of stuff. But imagine, I don't think booing would have even made the news at all ever back then compared to some. I learnt phrases and words and insults at the footy in the early 90s that have stuck with me, and some of them you just go, that's crook. But they were just coming from left, right. And some of the stuff that the Indigenous boys used to cop from over the fence there's no other word than disgraceful. So I'm glad we've come a long way, Jim, put it that way. But yeah, some really good, that aside, some really good memories of footy when I was a kid.
Yeah, I'm now actually looking at the 1989 schedule, and I'm like, I don't know what that was. It might have been a year or so later. I'm pretty sure we played a Melbourne game there. But anyway, I'll find that at some other point. Line in the sand, 132-39. Uh-oh. There's not much of a line in the sand there, Jez. That's a 93-point belting. What happened? Hawthorn smashed the Bomb Rays.
Yeah. That's it. Not much more to... Yeah, we just went back to business as usual after a little blip in the radar with a win and potentially costing ourselves pick one, but I'm sure the Tigers will pull one out of the bag and make sure that we wrap that up. Fingers crossed, please, Richmond, just pull one. But, look, it was a pretty down day. I thought the first quarter we did okay-ish, and then, from there on, the Hawks are just way too good. Way too good. Just the pressure that we showed the week before wasn't there at all. And that's hard. It's hard to bring that pressure when you play against a team who is that much better, and one of their trademarks is the pressure. So I think Hawthorn probably felt like they needed to really boost their percentage and have a really big sort of win that they can iron out a few of the kinks before they run into what's probably going to be a pretty big final series for them. So they had a nice easy one they can roll over the top of, and yeah, I kind of expected it, even though I hoped it wouldn't be the case. But here we are.
And as I said, the rest of the game, the rest of the game's not very good. Like Sydney smashed GWS in the the derby, 139-88. Charlie kicked 4. They looked really, really good because we, what do? We came home from our game, had this on as I was prepping to do the NBA Australia Emergency LeBron show. Watching this, I'm like, oh, this game's over. And then you're just like, both these games are over. And then we went to the pub after I was done. And we were just watching the end of these two games. You're like, this is just a horror show. So there you go. Swans absolutely outclassed them. GWS just nowhere to be found. And this is it. Like, just Finn Callahan stinking up, gets injured at the end. They're just missing too many dudes as well, it sort of seems like. And they've just hit a point where of no return. And then later on, we have the Dogs 105, Richmond 48. And this is like the point where you start asking questions about Uze and going, oh, yeah. The Dogs don't look very good. We get that you're inexperienced, but it feels like there's a bit of talent there. There's still a couple of veterans hanging on, but they just kind of stink real bad, and they're not even playing vaguely interesting footy, Jez.
Yeah, it's the Uze chatter has doubled in intensity over the last probably. It was getting loud before the game, and I think since the game it's even louder again. I heard one of our beloved trade rumours of Nathan Broad potentially to West Coast with a look to him becoming part of the coaching staff after maybe 1 or 2 years. Which, look, I think that sort of stuff you'll find both Essendon and Richmond with obviously the bottoming out. You'll find some of these not superstar, not that either of them have got them left, but these sort of role players who have been through the highs, more so for Richmond and Essendon, like Broad, will play on these younger up-and-coming teams, similar to what Luke Parker's doing at North and that sort of thing. So I think that's a good thing for some of them. But yeah, they're like Essendon. I think both clubs are in for a world of more hurt in the next 18 months, 2 years before they start to make their climb up the ladder. So yeah, look, it's interesting because I saw a graphic regarding Stephen King and his, and I was talking about this to the president of Learmonth on Saturday when we were waiting for the game to start. And I said, it's interesting how you see Stephen King's coaching graphic where he started as an assistant back in 2010 and he's been to 4 separate clubs. The fourth one was obviously returning to his home club of Geelong. And now he's taken on this team and he's obviously doing great things. But you look at some of these other assistants who do one stint here and one, maybe 2 stints, and they're very short, and then all of a sudden they just stay at the one club under the one senior coach, and then when they do get the gig, Josh Fraser's another example of that. He's been at the Gold Coast, he's been at Collingwood, I believe he's been at another club that I can't think. Well, there's obviously 18 to choose from, but and he's showing that he's got enough experience there to do the job well. So yeah, I don't know. And with obviously, there's still a couple of good candidates out there, Jim, having missed out on the Tassie job and pulled their names out of the Carlton and Essendon jobs like Longmire and Buckley, as long as there's no stray dogs around for him to kick. I think I think something might happen. It might not happen mid-season. It might be after the end of the year, because I don't think they've got anything to gain by flicking him now. I might as well just let him play out the season and say thanks. Here's your check. See you later, buddy. But it's interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about it, Jim. To be honest,
tough one. Up against it, right? Or you're always going to be up against it, but at least play some interesting, fun, weird, crazy, good football rather than like just the oh God. Oh, God. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Kind of brand of they're playing at the moment. Then Sunday's games, we had Brisbane 126, Port Adelaide 67. They turned on the Jets late, did the Lions, and smash the power in the end. 14 goals to 5 in the second half. So, yeah, Charlie Cameron goes whack. But I did love the Port jersey, the big, you know,
it's pretty cool.
exceptionally turquoise. What is it? There's a sort of specific blue that they have, but it looked good. I like it. It was a clash jumper. Looked fantastic.
Turquoise.
Stood out. Light turquoise. There you go. Enjoyed that. Brisbane just continue apace. We'll talk about that in the latter in a second. And then the really, really fun one that was just completely taken over in the back half, 93-62. The Saints run away with this one. The Roos just ended up stopping dead. This was a really, really good game. I'm watching this one with the oldest squid. And halfway through the third quarter, you're like, oh, this is going to be unreal. And then you turn around, you're like, oh, St Kilda have just completely wrested control of the game away thanks to Naz and that third quarter that he had. And then they just completely stomped them in that fourth quarter and just sort of kept their noses up, never really got too threatened, and then end up kicking away. So a pretty impressive win in the end by the Saints, I reckon, Jez. What did you say?
I actually listened to this one mostly because I was at young Zach's game this afternoon. So I didn't watch any of it, but I listened along and I was very interested in some of the comments made around Naz in that I think he had 27 to halftime. And they were talking about how, he had 27, but he hadn't really had an impact. But it was that third quarter where I think he had 10 touches and a couple of goals, and then the last quarter where he ends up with 46 and 4 goals. And he just said, "Come on, fellas, and jump on me back." And I think it was no Naz, they don't win this game. As simple as that. And I think that's been some of when he's been on, he is the difference. I'm going to watch this again because I want to see the highlights of Naz, tearing them apart. And he's that sort of player. You can see why he's, being touted as that big dollar player, because what is he now, Jim? He's 22, 23? He's still a young buck. Unreal. Imagine what he's going to be like when 23 years of age. He's played 100 games already, which is, pretty handy. I will be very interested to see how much of a superstar we rate him once he's played 200 games. Because he's special.
Awesome.
As Bruce would say, special. That turquoise jumper would match his eyes.
Right, let's do it. Ladder check. At the bottom. Start at the bottom now. We're here. Richmond and Essendon.
Hello.
18-17. Not great. The Eagles and Port, 16 and 15. Port, 6 and 13. So I don't believe they're technically knocked out, but they are. Then you got the Suns now 7 and 12 in 14th, and having lost, what is that, 8 straight now? 9 straight? It's I think it actually dates back, I think, to exactly the point where they had that big win in the Northern Territory and then went, look, I don't know if we want to keep coming up here. It's like you've angered the footy gods now, and then they've lost a million games. It's crazy. North, that was the classic 8-point game today. So they're now 8 and 11, tied with the Giants, 8 and 11, 12 and 13th, those two teams. So North and GWS now a game back of the Saints and the Blues, who were 10th and 11th at 9 and 10. So the Saints having a pretty healthy percentage over the Blues. It's going to be a lot of hard work for the Carlton team to get up ahead of them. It sort of goes to the Carlton season that they've had, where it's a lot of sort of eke out wins, and even the Gold Coast game where at the start of every quarter, as I pointed out, they were suddenly trailing. It's like, just can you smash a team just once? Even the West Coast game that I took the squid to about a month ago or whatever, they didn't exactly smash them at West Coast. It ended up being a decent win, but not by 80 or something that you sort of need to get for those.
Not
even the Carlton Essendon and the Carlton Richmond games have been absolutely fraught as well. So pretty bad. And
they haven't had that.
Themselves.
that big win like Hawthorn had over Essendon, where they just dominated from start to finish and really put a team to the sword. So yeah, I think with those three, Carlton, GWS, I think North are done because they've obviously got Hawthorn this week. Their percentage is pretty low. The only thing for me, and I've got a bit of a yeah no about this, so I'm going to jump the gun on that one, is I reckon it's out of those 11. And the only reason why you could consider the GWS Giants as potential is because they've got a better percentage than Carlton and they've got Port coming up. So knowing the gap between GWS's best and worst, they could either lose that game by a goal or win it by 100. And if they win it by 100, all of a sudden they're putting percentage pressure on the Saints. But for me, I think that it's down to 11. I can't see GWS actually being consistent enough to make it. What do you think?
Yeah, so of the 4 games they've got left, 3 are pretty winnable for GWS. Because I think they've got the problem is they are playing Port, but it is in Adelaide, which makes it a bit tougher. And GWS, it just doesn't even really seem to matter so much, but that's a bit of a tougher ask than if they were at home. Then they host the Suns, and who knows what could happen there in Canberra. At home at NG for West Coast, and then final round, they got a tough one against Adelaide in Adelaide. So 3 fairly winnable ones there, you'd say. Whereas the Blues have got a pretty tough run. North, it feels like their run is very, very hard. And the Saints,
I think North are cooked.
Yeah. Whereas the Saints are in the driver's seat, though. They host Sydney this week. Then there's like the massive, massive, massive game on August 9, which is St Kilda Carlton. And then they go to the G against Richmond, and then they host the Suns. So again, they've got
percentage in hand too.
Yep. So I feel like the Saints, it's theirs to miss out on. But the Blues are probably the only one that's got a bit of a sniff there. So, above them on the rest of the ladder. So the Saints are in 10th at the moment, 9 and 10, with 105.8 percentage ahead of the Blues, 92.4. So they're pretty safe there with that. But then in 9th, you got the Cats, 11 and 8, having, back-to-back wins, which is kind of nice. Pies ahead of them with another, a 6th straight win, 11-7-1. Nice to have that draw just in their pocket, keeping them ahead of the Cats. The Dogs ahead of them at 12 and 7 in 7th, tied at 12 and 7 with Adelaide and Melbourne ahead of them. So 5, 6, 7 are all on 48 points, 12 and 7, Adelaide, Melbourne, Dogs. So that cutoff line is pretty interesting all of a sudden as well, isn't it? Like you want to be in the top 6 rather than the top. So
you've got 5 through to 9 can all finish anywhere from 5 through to 9. Possibly even, I wouldn't have thought the Dogs have got enough percentage to finish top 4, but, the Crows and the D's can quite easily jump into the top 4. Maybe Geelong, maybe Collingwood even with that draw. They're all a genuine chance, depending on how they play, to finish anywhere from sort of 4th down to 9th. I reckon it's great. It's gonna, and there's some, as we're going to talk about soon, there's some really good matchups coming up too.
Yep. So the Lions sit by themselves at 13 and 6 because the Hawks are ahead of them with that draw in hand, 13, 5 and 1. And then the Swans 14 and 5 in second, and a dominant Dockers team that no one's talking about who is 17 and 2 and just absolutely crushing teams and laughing about it, and having a great time.
Yeah.
It is Wharfie time. Like they're the most dominant team we've seen in like a million years, and they're crushing teams, but because they're Freo, everyone's kind of like, sure, let's see it, which is kind of funny. It sucks, but there you go. So looking pretty good, but it's pretty crazy that 3 of the top 4, again, non-Victorian teams. Only 2 of the top 6 are from Victoria, which is funny as well. So there you go. That's it. Round 20's ladder.
It's a national competition, Jim. It's a national competition.
Hashtag Vic bias. Let's do some awards.
Oh, yeah.
Gablett Areas. This one was easy. It's NAS. Unbelievable game. As you said, 27 to the half, but hadn't really stamped himself like grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck, and then he did in the third quarter, 3 goals, 10 disposals, absolutely ran rampant. The goal that he kicked with the turnover, the one-hander, just absolutely amazing. Threatened to do it again late as well. 46 disposals and 4 goals in the end, and put the Roos to the sword. They couldn't do anything to stop him. It was absolutely unreal, Jez.
Yeah. And I second that notion. All I can do is come up with a special mention because I reckon our mate, and I'll call him our mate, I know he torched your team, he's torched my team, but Nick Dacos just every week, I think watching that game, I think it was midway through the third quarter, he was on 15 disposals. And within 5 minutes, he was up to 25, and he ended up with 39 and a goal. And they made it hard for him too, Adelaide. They were going after him, and physically they were really. And he just went, "Yeah, look, that's cute, but I'm actually really good at this game. So you can hit me all you want, but I'm just going to beat you. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this." He's a freak. These are two like. These are two absolute freaks of nature when it comes to playing footy, these two boys that we've just mentioned, Naz and Nick Dacos. And I just don't get how people can hate on them because they're just so fun to watch. How can you hate? The only reason you can hate Dacos is because he's Peter's son and he wears a Collingwood jumper. And believe me, as an Essendon supporter, nobody hates Peter Dacos more than me. But I actually love watching Nick Dacos play. It hurts me to say, but you can't hate on him. And Naz is the same. I love watching them play. They're just so exciting.
I very much would have enjoyed Nick Dacos' game a little bit more if he had kicked one more goal. Because
I'm hearing you.
Having him at 34
I'm hearing you.
And 2+ goals, I mean, just saying it would have been pretty handy.
Yep.
Other honourable mention, I mean, I could just do this for all of our awards from the game that I was at, but Cripps was amazing, but so was Sam Walsh in that game as well. It was good to see him have like a really good impact. Speed around the stoppages, he just adds like a completely different element, and Cripps had at least 4 different moments during that game. It was weird watching Petrarca and Cripps in the same game, and Petrarca sort of really trying his hardest to have like any sort of influence and not really being able to sort of muster it up, whereas Cripps was just monstering dude left, right and centre. So that was pretty fun. Who am I buying a beer this week? It's obviously Nick Newman. 150th game, goes out almost straight away. Like as it happened as well, like you're sort of watching him, you're like, oh, that looked a bit janky. And he came from the field and like the ladies sitting next to us were all over the news and like, he's going down to the rooms. Oh, and I'm like, oh, this is great. It's like having SEN in my ear. And I think it's because one of them had SEN in her ear. So,
David
that was
King
good.
just said
it was a tough one for poor Nick Newman, but I'll buy him a beer because I love him. I think every time he plays, Carlton look that much better off the half-back flank, and they certainly missed him at like big moments. And it's interesting to see what they do from here on out because I think Billy Wilson has been really, really good. He's also very young and does some really dumb young dude stuff, but still very, very good. They still have Adam Sard is still, I think, in the VFL at the moment. So I assume he'd probably come back at some point, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I'll buy Nick Newman a beer because that's a rough way to leave your 150th, I'll tell you.
Sucks. Well, I am going to probably buy a beer for the number one unluckiest bloke of the year, I'm going to say. First game back in 756 days, and he re-injured his hamstring, Max King. It's so long. And the two things that you love to see are, freakish players like Dacos and Naz that we've mentioned, and the big key forwards leading out, taking big pack marks and kicking goals. And that's what, when they're on, both Max and Ben King can do. And as fans, we've been robbed of not having this bloke on the park. Because you imagine, their forward line with him in it and fully firing with Naz kicking the ball to him, Brad Hill getting the ball. It would actually be a really entertaining, sort of game because their forward line would be so good. So I really hope that he gets back this year. and it's not too much of a hamstring. The awareness is only minor rather than being, oh my God, my hamstring's exploding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah, not good. Old mate, no mates this week. Obviously, Petrarca versus Leo Lombard's the biggest one. That was pretty funny. Like, Petrarca probably should pull his head in and not, castigate a teenager on the field. And Leo
Especially
Lombard
one who
probably
knows, especially one who's as lethal as Leo Lombard.
maybe
So,
also Leo could probably handball maybe once, but
yeah.
yeah.
I
Obviously,
think
no
if I
love
had
lost.
an old mate, no mates, I'd probably be going with their coach at the moment, because he's obviously lost. Whether he's lost the team or he's lost control, I don't know, but he's just lost in general. I think he's probably regretting coming back to coaching right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Tough one. The Ben Mackay spud of the week. Brody Kemp, you're breaking my heart. Oh my God.
Jesus.
I was absolutely flabbergasted the two different times that Brody Kemp was running towards the goal and kicked backwards. So within, I want to say, 15 meters of the goals. The second one was directly in front of where we were. And I'm like, there's no defender in front of him. He didn't even look at the goals, Jez. He's like streaming in. He's won the ball, and he did kick it all the way across the face of goal. And I think that one was marked by, I want to say, Will Hayward or somebody, who then went back and slotted the goal, thank God. But the time before, he had been on the far pocket from where we were, had done the exact same thing, had a clear path just running towards the goal, outside of the boot, dribble it through, and you're laughing. Instead, tries to kick it across the face, dribbles it off his foot the wrong way, and turns the ball over. And I'm pretty sure that eventually ended in a Gold Coast goal, because it was just such a bad inboard kick. Like, going backwards that far from the goal when you're running into an open goal, it blew. Everybody there was just like, oh my God, this is absolutely brutal. And so those are two, like, he's just zero confidence in that whatsoever when he's like running around the field. And the other one was Lewis Young, who he's also a bit of an old mate, because God bless his Carlton stocks. But poor Lewis Young, everybody at Marvel Stadium, every Carlton fan, Lewis Young kicked one goal. It was like, that's unbelievable. Because the other times that he went to try to kick a goal, you're like, this could get, like, I'm going to cover, like, just make sure that squids, because who knows where it could go. And the apprehension in the crowd, Jez, is like nothing I've ever seen before, because everyone's cotton on that Lewis Young is not very good at football.
No, he's not.
It was, not great. And he did, however, save the game at the very end, where he burned like over a minute off the clock, where he took a mark inside 50 and started his run up from inside, like about the center circle. It was absolutely, it was the Harry Mackay burning 45 seconds off the clock about a month ago or whatever. That, but even worse. So that was pretty crazy.
Yeah,
but,
I remember it well.
Yeah, Brody Kemp.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Has anyone?
Who have you?
So Brody Kemp is either very, very, very daft, or if he was a Pakistani cricketer bowling no balls, he'd probably end up in jail. So he's either really daft or he's match fixing.
There were different times where you just like, are Carlton purposely throwing this game? What is happening?
Yeah, well,
this is insane. But yeah, Brody, not great. It was bonkers, absolutely bonkers. And the crowd's just reaction to him was hilarious, but the crowd's reaction to Lewis Young doing stuff was also hilarious. So yeah, a bit of a rough lose there. Who have you got there, Jez?
All right. Well, I've got two. And last week, one of them didn't play, and the other one kicked 7 goals in the reserves. This week, one of them got rewarded for not being good enough to play VFL by getting a game in the AFL. His name, believe it or not, is Ben Mackay. He played 90% of the game and managed to get 5 disposals. The other fella's name is Nick Cox. He managed to get 9 disposals, but could not do anything with it. So it's probably more of an honourable mention for him. But what the hell, Ben Mackay? Like, what the hell? Like, why did we? They picked him because we lost Nick Bryan as a ruck option, and he had 1 hit out, 5 disposals, and a mark in 90% of game time, Jim. Not 20% of game time, in 90% of. I could do that. I could actually do that. I believe I could get those exact stats in my current form, and I'm not an AFL ruckman anymore. But it's pathetic, is what it is. He is. We need Malcolm Blight to come out and call him pathetic. That's how bad he's going. It's just, I don't think I'm going to give it to anyone else if he plays for the rest of the year. I think it's just going to be Ben Mackay. Flat out.
I like that
no
you
one's done
him.
worse than him.
Pressing the Malcolm Blight button is a big call as well. It's like you got to press the Malcolm Blight button in the direst of circumstances, and I think it's got.
I think that's where we're at.
Yeah.
I think you might have to get that on the machine over there, Jim. And whenever we mention Ben Mackay, that drop comes straight after.
I don't mind it. Better than Bootsma. I mean, the arguments against Jagger Smith now are getting pretty tough. Like, he is absolutely amazing. He was everywhere in that game against the Suns. Absolutely fantastic. Like, still doing sort of young dude dumb stuff every so often, but his polish and his poise are fantastic. But really, I got to give this one to Taylor Byrne. Like, the squid buying the Taylor Byrne badge was pretty remarkable. He's like those tiny little pumping legs of Taylor Byrne. But when he slotted the goal, the far end from when we were, it was a massive settler. He kicked 3 goals, could have had 4 pretty easily. His set shot feels very, very good. He played an awesome game. His tackling pressure in the forward 50 is absolutely off the chain. I love watching him play. So love me some Taylor Byrne. Jagger Smith is probably more deserving, but Taylor Byrne, like, they don't win that game without him. So both of them right there. How about you there, Jez?
I went with Marcus Herbert from the West Coast Eagles. He is a 23-year-old mature age recruit. He's played his 6th game against the Dockers and led the stat sheet with 36 disposals. He gets around with the do-rag on, so he's pretty easy to spot out there. But I watched him, I think, the last week when West Coast played, and I thought, who's that? And I thought it was Tim Kelly. He's got a very similar complexion, and I'm like, why is Tim Kelly wearing number 51? But then this Herbert, and he's got a knack of getting the footy, and I think he might be one of those. And they've got a few of them there now, like with Milan Murdoch and whatnot. So I think I like the way, from what I watched of it when I was flicking, he's a good fit for that list where it's at the moment. I think he could be one of those players who's obviously matured late and might be a really good fit with a young list that's still coming through. So I thought his game was really good on Friday night, what I saw of it. So, and was not surprised to see that he had 36 touches and led the stat sheet there.
Nice. Crushed it in Supercoach as well. Right. Yeah, no. Very quickly. Wanted to revisit the most punchable players in the AFL. Essentially, this goes back to NBA Australia. The most punchable man in the league for years was Austin Rivers. Son of a coach, just yappy, annoying, not actually that good kind of dude. A little bit different with the AFL. Like, in terms of father-son stuff, it's a little bit different, but you still have your yappers. And, I think Tom Papley was the first one brought up, and so he was easily first cab off the rank for me. Like, essentially, these are the players you hate to play against. You hate them, and if they're on your team, as you said last week, right, you love them. And Papley is exactly. So Papley, I think, with a rocket, the most punchable man in the AFL. I then have Shea Bolton, number 2. Just a lot of this comes back to the Richmond Carlton days, though. So this is a little bit more personal. He does. He's very, very good, and he's very fun to watch when he's actually on. And he's been on for about 2 months now, so he's flying. Jack Ginnivan's third for me, and then Braden Maynard. Just Maynard's a war criminal, and really, I'm pretty sure the opposition should be able to at least have 1 or 2 bits of 4x2 lying around the field that they can just whack him with at any point. And I think that's fine.
I can't argue with that.
Honorable mentions. I've got Will and Levi Ashcroft. There's your yappy father-son vibes. Their dad was apparently a bit of a talker on the field, but he's like such a much more demure kind of chill kind of dude. Whereas they've got the big flowing locks and, two-time Norm Smith medalist. Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the vibes, they're just very, very good though. So it's a bit tough. Bailey Humphrey is right there as well. But since he's cut his hair, like he sort of just fades into the background, and he's also not been very good this year. And as you hit on last week, James Sicily was another one where it's just, I don't know, I could just start listing gingers as well if we want to do that, but that's fine. Historically,
that's a category of their own though, the gingers, because you just want to punch them in the face because they're ginger, and then anything else comes there. So I think they should almost have exemptions from these types of lists, Jim. I mean, you've obviously got the final say there, being the president of said club. But I have to, when it's not grey, I do have tinges of red through the beard. So I've got a little bit of a say. But I'll leave it to you to make the final call on that one.
I like it. You're actually like almost quite literally being grandfathered in. The idea, however, of like the I don't know, the gingers and the punchable ones. Rory Lobb is an interesting one that I've thought about throwing in there as well. And when he dyed his hair red, the only thing I could think of was like, hey, my culture is not your costume. Come on. I don't know if you can do this. This is it just makes me a bit angry. So, yeah, I've got a bit of a, burr in my saddle about Rory Lobb. Historically, how did you feel about these 4? Stephen Milne, obviously number 1 with a bullet, most punchable man in the AFL. Brian Lake. I feel like if you were playing against Brian Lake, he's like the most punchable opposition player you could probably go against. He would have been the most annoying dude to play on, I reckon. Stevie J, another obvious most punchable one for me. And Dermy was the other one, where I feel like the pretty boy prancing around kind of vibe. Another one that I thought of was like Gary Rowan. But again, that's another ginger one. So you're trying to like break apart break apart from the ginger, from the annoyance, and it's hard to do, and here we are. But
I think Dermy falls under the exemption because he's a part true ranger, I believe. So the true Derm, but as soon as he dyed his hair, it's I've got my top 5 in no particular order for the current players. I do have Levi only up there. I don't mind Will. I think Levi's got that. If you touch me, my brother will bash you about him.
My dad's kind of
my dad, my dad's here too. He's a cop. James Sicily, obviously, he's a big one for me. I used to, when he was at Collingwood, I would have had Ginnivan in that list, but I actually think he's matured a little bit as he's been at since he's gotten to Hawthorn. But as far as current in the league, I'm going to go out of the box a little bit, and I'm going to throw Ross Lyon in there as a coach, because when he sits there looking all smug when St Kilda have just beaten, the bottom side by 100 points and acting as if he's the God's gift to coaching, I just want to go and drop one on his chin. And the other one who he's one of these players, and I think there's a lot of fans, probably Bulldogs fans, that probably feel this way the most, but he's that one that if he was on your team, you would love him because he'd be your best player, but when he's not and he's tearing your team apart, but Toby Green. I think Toby Green is one that when he plays well against your team, you're just like, geez, I'd love to knock that bloke out. And when he plays poorly, you're like, thank God. So they're my current ones. Historically, There's a bloke who was a pretty dirty tagger who played for the Fremantle Dockers called Ryan Crowley. And he had a teammate, and these two, they can be a package deal, of Hayden Ballantyne, who was probably the Western version of Stephen Milne, was a little goal kicker and, yeah, just an absolute little grub. Oh, look, there's so many over history that you could throw in. I just had a couple in my head, and they've just popped out. But those ones for me, I mean, look, where do you stop, Jim? You could go with commentators, and I mean, probably most of them I'd love to. John Ralph could probably get one or two on there. Peter Dacos was always one that I wanted to, from watching him tear us apart in 1990. I'd be happy to that. Actually, that whole 1990 Collingwood team, I'd have all got punchable faces as far as 8-year-old me is concerned. So, because that's definitely what I wanted to do after that game. And even players like Wayne Carey, the arrogance that he used to strut around. I loved watching him, but when he played Essendon and tore us up, it was no love at all. So yeah, it's a good. I want to see people get out there and give us their top 5 most punchable of all time. Can be current or historical. I think that we could get some interesting comments on the socials there, Jim.
The Ross Lyon one's very good because I still believe St Kilda have not beaten anybody who was above them on the ladder this year.
I believe you're right.
Pretty remarkable. So if you go back through their fixture, they have beaten GWS, Port Adelaide, West Coast, Carlton, Richmond, GWS again, Essendon, Port Adelaide again, and now North. That's it. They haven't beaten anybody above them, which is pretty remarkable. So, yeah, pull your head in, Ross. Just chill. We might leave some more Yeah Nahs until next week. We'll just do some more wrap-ups of some, some awards here and there. But let's do our round 21 preview. Some good games, as we teased earlier. Starting with an absolute classic this Thursday. Collingwood up against Geelong at the G Thursday night. I repeat this one all the time. One of the apocryphal footy stories for me is a late Friday night working at Beat Magazine when I was the editor, you're cramming like so much work into like everyone's left and you're just sitting at your desk having a couple of quiet beers and doing like 400% more work because you don't have idiots just in your face the entire time, just talking at you, asking you questions. And so you're punching out a crap ton of work, walking home because at that point I think old mate had a place in Fitzroy, a little apartment, and I was just walking back there. So I scooted around the MCG and the place was shaking. It felt like as I was walking past, like through the gardens, with the resounding Collingwood. But then the Cats are still right there, and I'm pretty sure the Cats went on to win that game. I think it was like a qualifying final, I want to say. And yeah, that's always stuck with me just for like a massive night game at the G between these two teams.
Yeah.
All times. Like it was so loud and I was on the outside of it. It was absolutely absurd.
It's that thing, that Collingwood chant, hate it, but it's a hatred that comes from jealousy because it sounds so good, but it's Collingwood. Speaking of punchable faces, every single Collingwood fan who's there doing that when they're about to win a game, you just want to punch. But it's special, but you just can't help but just be angry because it's Collingwood. But I know exactly what you mean. It's a very cool thing when the MCG is rocking.
Now, the Pies are half-point underdogs as well going into this, so it's basically, the coin toss. And I think, so last week you took Adelaide, I took Collingwood. I've got to stick with the Pies here, I think. I think the way they're playing, the Cats at the G were very, very good against the Demons. The Pies back line, it feels like it might be a little bit more susceptible to the types of Shannon Neal and Ollie Henry and co. But I reckon just around the ball. The Pies might be able to just sneak out a really close win. I just feel like the Cats, something just weirds me out about them.
The
I
Cats
don't know
have got,
what it is.
yeah. They've got I think there's something about the teams who are older and wiser will do better against the Cats, I think, because they have the same experience as what the Cat, and that's what won the game for the Cats on Friday night was their experience. Their older heads, you sort of got them against a relatively young team in Melbourne, and I think Collingwood being a similar type of team, I think will help. But I'm actually going to go. I know I was generous last week in giving you a chance to catch up, but I'm going to go the Cats because I think this one will go either way, and this is another 8-point game, Jim. Because the team that loses can basically kiss their top 4 chance goodbye, and it might even be tough for them to finish in the top 6. So it's going to be a massive game. I'm pumped for this one. I really want to. I really can't wait to get home from whatever I'll have to do, no doubt, on Thursday, so I can just get into watching it. It's going to be a cracker.
My only qualm about taking Collingwood is like watching them against the Crom. Like where their goals were coming from were very, like it wasn't exactly like, lead up, target. It was a lot of scrappy, opportunistic sort of stuff. But they were also peppering the inside 50s and, executing really, really well. I think that against Geelong, with Tom Stewart manning that back line, it's going to be a little bit tougher, but I think they can just pull it out. Friday, another cracker. Freo Dogs. Huge game for the Dogs. They're 29.5-point underdogs out west against Freo. Huge game. Actually, that's now 32.5. Jeez, what's happened since I wrote that down like an hour ago?
That's mental.
We think about this game out at Optus. The Dogs, can they keep it within 5 goals?
I think they need to. I think if they, they're sitting in 7th, but the percentage is what's hurting them. And if they lose too many of those games, they could quite easily find themselves in 11th. So I think they need to keep it close. So, I'm going to go the Doggies to keep it close. I think they might be able to. And look, Freo will just get, 5 goals up and coast. Or they'll allow the Dogs to hang with them and then just kick away late. But I think the Dogs, they need to win this one. So I think they'll probably play that way and keep it close.
Yep. The last 3 games between these two teams have all been won by Freo, but by 12, 15, and 16 points. So 32.5 feels a little bit stretchy, even though the Dockers have played awesomely. But let's go the Dogs. I'm going the Dogs as well. Saturday, St Kilda, Sydney, Australia. Weird one because it's always really tough to figure out what the Swans are going to do when they play at Marvel. And the Saints, a lot has been made about the fact after their bye, they don't have to leave Victoria. And this is part of the advantage. They do play late on Sunday against the Roos. They play the early Saturday game, but they are at home again. And they're 13.5-point underdog here, Jez. What do you reckon? Do you like Sydney down here?
I do like Sydney down here. However, I think because the last time these two teams played in Sydney, St Kilda lost from a winning position and it was a point. And I have a feeling that I don't trust St Kilda because, as we spoke about before, they haven't beaten anyone above them, and Sydney are clearly way above them. However, Sydney have not exactly been setting the world on fire, aside from beating a pretty ordinary GWS team. So this one I think is going to be an absolute. This could be This could be the game of the round, Jim. This could be as good as, probably not skill wise, but as good as the Collingwood Geelong game. So I am going to take the Saints to cover, but I think the Swans will get by a goal or so.
I'm taking the Saints as well to cover. I think Sydney still win it because, again, last 3 games they've been decided by 2 points, 5 points, 2 points.
Yeah, I think we might have another one like that.
That's exactly right. Then we have Hawthorn North, the Clarko Bowl, 34.5-point favourites of the Hawks at, where is this one? That's the big question.
Tassie.
It
is in Tassie.
It's in Tassie. Got to assume it's in Tassie if it's Hawthorn North Melbourne, yeah.
No,
It's in
I'm
Lornie.
99% sure it's in Launceston.
Lornie. And so 34.5. Do you trust the Roos to go down there and cover 34.5 against James Sicily's least favourite spot, the Hawthorn Tassie Hawks? What do you reckon, Jez?
Well, last time the Hawks played down there, I think we thought they were going to run away with the game pretty easily, and they got out to 90-odd points behind. But I think that might have been a bit of a wake-up call for the Hawks. And I think North, they played well for 3 quarters today and then just couldn't go with the Saints in the end. And I think Hawthorn are a far better side. So don't be surprised if North are still in the game late in the third quarter and then the Hawks just go, oh, yeah, we're good. Bang, 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 bang. So I'm going to go with the Hawks.
A long repeated adage of mine is never trust anyone who says, I always say, because they're full of themselves. But a long repeated adage of mine is weird stuff happens in Tassie. I'm going to go North. I don't know if they win, but 34.5 just feels a little bit rich.
It is high.
Down there where just weird stuff happens and like the Roos.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. Then obviously absolutely teetering on the edge of their season being done, and it's basically done, but just give me the 30-point honourable loss. Port Adelaide, GWS. So the Power hosting the Giants, as we mentioned earlier, like it's a winnable game for the Giants. They're half-point underdogs, the Giants, in Adelaide, Saturday afternoon. It's a really interesting game. Can you just guess? I reckon. Like who has any clue about what's going to happen in this game? I think I might go GWS.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go GWS with no confidence at all, because I think when GWS are, when people write them off, that's when they pull out a ridiculous win. For example, the Dockers win. But in saying that, I got no idea. I don't know. Port Adelaide could easily pop up and, they played well for half a game today. They took the Dockers to, most of the way, only got done by 5 goals. So they're not going to roll over and go, oh yeah, here's me tummy, just give it a rub and I'll go to sleep. It's going to be a very interesting game. So I'm going to go with the Giants because I think they'll probably turn up this week because they've obviously been on holidays for a couple of weeks. But, this will be the one where they turn around and kick 15 goals in the first quarter or something like that. So I'm going to go with the Giants also, Jim.
Yeah, they're like me. They've been in tropical Queensland for a couple of weeks and just not paying attention.
Tropical Jim.
That's it. They went full tropical. And you never go full tropical Jim, I'm just saying. How about – wait, that's Port Adelaide. How about GWS and their last 10 matches at Adelaide Oval? They have beaten – well, actually, if we go to this one. All right, GWS 52-34. GWS lost last year. Gross. That's horrible.
I hope it's
94-78. GWS lost the 2024. GWS beat them 93-70. 136-85 to Power in 23. 71. Yeah, they've sort of split them, so it's not like a disaster zone.
No.
Really. But, yeah, they've lost the last.
A bit of a historical one for you. GWS's first win was against Port Adelaide in Adelaide. So how's that for a stat off the top of the head?
Top of the bonds, not bad. The Blues host the Lions, 24.5-point underdogs at Carlton at the old Marvel Stadium. Jeez, if the Blues had Harry Mackay, you'd feel a little bit maybe better about this, but I don't think they've got much of a chance at even covering that. I think so.
Yeah, I think Brisbane I think if we had a half-time line, I'd maybe take Carlton to cover, but I reckon it might be very similar to today's game for the Lions. They'll let you hang around for a bit and then go, oh, yeah, we're won the last 2 flags. See ya.
Well, I just think about the Carlton backline trying to cover the not even like Logan Morris, but like Charlie Cameron and like Oscar Allen is still on the fringes again. And if he's back, it's just they're going to get cooked, I reckon.
Well, you've got Draper who's coming into form and pushing forward, and you've got the Ashcrofts who love kicking a goal. Yeah, it's going to be a
Draper's goal out of the mid. Grabbing it out of the ruck today was absolutely off its head. We then have an absolute barn burner on Sunday afternoon. Richmond, West Coast at the G. There will be 27 people at this game. And
and they'll be employed.
The Tigers are half-point favourites against the Eagles. I don't get this at all. Like, I don't care how bad West Coast are. Like, Richmond have given me absolutely nothing to believe in the last little bit. So I'm going to go the Eagles to cover the half point as an underdog. So I'm going West Coast.
I really, really, really want Richmond to win this game because then we get the number 1 pick. But I think that West Coast will probably get this one done. They're bad. Well, they're bad as far as ladder position and wins go, but they're not Essendon and Richmond bad West Coast. So I think they will probably win this one quite easily.
Yep. Then we have the Petrarca Bowl. Gold Coast hosting the Demons up at People's First. So that is above the 27th parallel, don't forget. Unfortunately, the 27th parallel has been failing me of late. So, they are, the Suns, 3.5-point underdogs at home. And that's a really low number, I think, compared to where these two teams are at. The Suns having lost 1 million games in a row. The Demons very well, but the Demons obviously not really too crash hot away from home this year. They lose their first game of the G this year on Friday night, but 3.5 is a bit, how you going? I think I'll take the D's.
I think it's going to depend on who they get back from injury because I think, as I mentioned in the wraps, Disco Turner is a massive out. And I think if he's not back in and they've got to rely on Tom McDonald to play down back, I reckon the Suns might snap their streak. So I'm just going to go for the Gold Coast. I think something's got to change, and I think that the D's they've been up for so long that I think they might drop a couple, especially with the injuries they've got. And yeah, it's so hard though. So yeah, I'm going to go for the Suns.
It's usually around this time as well, right? The teams that we sort of came into the season having maybe not sky high expectations, but teams that like outperform what we sort of thought of them. And if they take a couple on the chin there, it's usually around this time each season where it sort of really starts dropping off, and you're like, see, we weren't too far off in our preseason prognostications. And this could easily be one of those ones. Yeah, like the Petrarca-ness of it, I don't know if that really impacts things too much, but
I don't think it does, no.
Melbourne on balance should.
Yeah, I'm sticking with that because I've just had a look and Turner's out 2 to 4 weeks with broken ribs, so he's not going to be back. And they've got Giath, who's a test. So if he doesn't come up, then they're basically relying on Jake Lever and Tom McDonald, which, as I said, I think Tom McDonald may play his last game whenever that is this year. And yeah, with the forward talent that the Gold Coast Suns have got, even though they haven't really fired, they should be able to beat them quite easily. And I think that it might just be after all the stuff that's happened in the last, especially the last fortnight with all the stuff coming out, I think they'll something's got to give, and I reckon it might be this week where they pull one out. And so let's go Fold Coast, nice. Your beloved Suns.
This is the classic NFL Australia special that I do is that, we usually tape that on a Tuesday night. We're now taping this show on a Sunday. It's very early on in the piece, and I will 100% talk myself into my beloved Gold Coast Suns by the end of this week. And I'll be messaging Jez going, hey, I'm going the Suns. Like, I don't know. What am I doing?
Yeah.
But I reckon that's 100% what's going to happen. And then finally, your beloved Bomb Rays hosting the Adelaide Crom. 45.5-point underdogs are the Bombers. The sting has completely gone out of this team again. This isn't Marvel, however. Do you give yourselves a bit of a chance to stick around here, Jez? What do you think? 45.5.
If the line was 100 points, I would give us a chance to cover. This will be a thump. Tex will kick 10. It might be. I might have just gone early on my best bet, but I can't say either way, Jim, because 1 minute I tip us to cover and we play like we did against Hawthorn. The next minute I say, no, I'm not going to the game because we'll lose and I don't want to watch us lose again, and then we win. So I can't win with Essendon. So I'm just going to go for the worst case scenario, and anything better than that, in my mind, is a win. So I'm going to tip Adelaide by 100 points.
I'm taking Essendon to cover the 45.5. So
I wish you good luck.
Nice. The picks tracking, as I mentioned, I picked up 3 this week, so it's back down to 89 to 83 in Jez's favour. So I
just a 6-pack.
Just a sixer.
Nice.
Best bets for this week: Slevo's Punters Club. This week came very, very close to me. Ben King 3+. I had that as a win, as a separate one. The other one was Mitch McGovern, 2+ and 3+. And Mitch McGovern managed to sky a snap around his body that almost hit the bloody roof. That made me so angry. I'm just absolutely hanging on this one. And Gov was very, very good around the ground, but didn't really sort of, especially the lead-up stuff. Mac Andrew, if the ball went near him, he was spoiling it. It was absolutely crazy. So instead, for the Blues, it's like George Hewitt kicking 3, Taylor Byrne kicking 3, Will Hayward kicking 3. Mitch McGovern still got 2, but the one was the latter end of the 3+, never got there. So I think the 2+ and the Ben King 3+ hit. The Mitch 3+, Ben King 3+ didn't. So I think I get a half there. Maybe 0.75 because I did have Mitch 2+ and Ben King 3+, but I didn't have the 3 and 3. So anyway, for this week, I think I'm just going to go the Essendon Adelaide over, which is always fun. You're just sort of hoping that, because if I'm taking Essendon to cover the 45.5, I think it's like a pretty high scoring affair and they're just sort of sticking around. Otherwise, I mean, the Lions, Logan Morris, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
What is the over actually?
I don't think it's out yet. No, I was looking before, but I don't think it's out. But I think it'll probably be around that 170 mark, 170, 180.
Otherwise, Logan Morris 4+ against the Blues should be pretty easy, I reckon. What about you, Jez? Your one from last week came very, very close. It was Bont 3+, I think, wasn't it? And he had 29 and 2.
I think I had 30 and 3, and he ended up with 29 and 2, so I missed it by that much. So this week, I'm actually going to go with Tex 5+.
Nice.
Tex Walker 5+, and Jordan Dawson 30 and a goal. I'll roll that into a nice little multi. I think your bet's bang on. I think we'll. The other one you could go for is the GWS and Port Adelaide as the under, given that some of the results, some of the games that both of those teams have played in have been very low scoring. So that one could quite easily be a total of about 80 points, depending on the weather over there in Adelaide. But it's interesting stuff, Jim. Interesting stuff.
Interesting stuff, I believe.
Interesting stuff.
Nice, but that's it.
Love it.
I'm going to play the song.
Hell yeah.
that's it for the round 20 wrap. We got there in the end. The round 21 preview. We are like a month away from finals footy, which is crazy. I'm excited. This is going to be a massive week. I can't wait. Hopefully the Sunday night show, we'll keep doing this probably for the rest of the season with Jez's schedule, my schedule, as well as NFL sort of starts cranking up at some point too. So, yeah, hopefully the Sunday night makes a little bit more sense. It's all a lot fresher in my mind, which is very cool.
Yeah.
So, anyway, make sure you're following across all the socials. I'm basically back from holidays now, so I'm going to actually get back to doing stuff at some point.
You've clicked out of holiday mode.
Maybe. Just, I did an NBA Australia yesterday. I'm doing an Footy Unfilterated today. I'm working all weekend. What a world. Yeah, working hard.
It's hard for some, isn't it? I just work 45 hours a week during the week. That's all good.
I think after I drop the squids off tomorrow at school and daycare, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. So it's awesome. It's just like I think I'm rebuilding the website. Anyway, that's it. Make sure you subscribe across all your podcast apps, of course. Get around the YouTube, jump in the comments, smash us through some DMs if you want to send through some yeah nahs. We want to know your most punchable men in the AFL as well. Send us through your list. Fun to throw them out next week too. Jez, what else you got?
Not much, mate. We've got finals starting up for my boys. Young Zach's team are guaranteed a top 2 finish, so they've got one game left then into finals, which is awesome. And then my oldest son, Luke, his team is currently sitting top 4 in a top 8 in the Central Highlands. So they've got some tough games coming up. So they've got to win, I think, 2 of the 3 left to stay in the top 4. But the way it's a close comp, if they lose a lot, they could quite easily finish down at 8th. So a big month of footy for them as well. So, keep an eye out. That's the other one too, Jim. If we've got any listeners out there who've got local clubs that they're part of, let us know how your team's going. Let us know if they're getting into finals. There's a whole heap of I see a lot of posts out there about players on their kicking their 100th goals for the year, and a lot of old boys who are getting up around 1,000 goals in local footy. Let us know. We'll give them a shout out. Because we're not just about the big boys out who run out on the field, Jim. We love the grassroots. I was about to say grassroots, but that would have hurt. But grassroots footy, it's obviously where it all starts, and I've got to, I've spent a lot of time at local footy with 2 boys playing, and still thinking I can have a run every now and again. But let us know what your clubs are up to, and all that sort of stuff. Funny stories. If you've got a legend out there who's about to kick 1,000 goals, let us know, and we'll give them a shout out.
Like it. I do have the parents kids Auskick game this weekend, so watch me tear my Achilles. It's going to be awesome.
I was going to say watch that Achilles, Jim. So if you need a sub in, I can. I have no hesitation in taking out a kid.
I might be umpiring. All right. Until next week, stay off the rubbish gear. It's Footy Unfilterated. Catch you next week.
Bye.